So a big part of life is having to interact with people that we maybe don't really get along with very well, and people that we maybe don't really like so much, and dealing with difficult people and having to interact with difficult people is just a very ordinary part of human life. And really, no matter who you are, whether you're a lay person or a monk, it's really all the same, in the sense that we always tend to find ourselves having to spend a lot of time working with people that maybe we would prefer not to be working with. And this tends to bring up a lot of difficulties and challenges within ourselves, and it tends to be a source of a lot of suffering for us. So, lay people go to work and probably have to work with many people that they maybe don't really like, and maybe difficult people at work. Monks live in monasteries, and it's very common to have at least a few people in the monastery that you maybe don't really get along with so well. So this is just a totally ordinary part of our life, no matter who we are. And if we're interested in happiness, then it's very important that we learn how to be at peace when we're around people that we have difficulties with, around people that we would rather not be around. And for myself, there's a few reflections that I like to bring up in terms of being around difficult people. I like to reflect on that person's past, and I like to reflect on their future. It's so easy to get caught in our present perception of them as being somebody who has a lot of negative qualities that we don't like, and we tend to forget the big picture. And the big picture is looking at their past. I like to reflect on just considering where did that person come from, and based on what I know about their temperament, and possibly if I've heard a little bit about their life story, I like to imagine what was their childhood like, what were their teenage years like, what were the kind of difficulties that they faced, what were the possible traumas that they may have experienced, and how did all of those difficulties possibly shape who they are today, and how did they possibly lead to some of those negative qualities that they have today. Because the more that I find out about people's stories, it's quite clear that so many people actually have had quite traumatic experiences, or just very difficult experiences throughout their lives from the time that they were a child. And so often the negative character traits that we have as adults are just natural defense mechanisms that we've developed over our lives as ways of coping with the kind of overwhelming suffering that we've faced. So I think it's a really useful contemplation to consider that maybe the negative qualities that people have, maybe they come from somewhere. Maybe they're actually a response to some kind of great suffering in the past. And I can remember a number of years ago living with a particular person who really had a lot of anger, and I really didn't like this person. And then one day their family came, and I realized all of their family members are just really rough people. And then it suddenly just made sense. I go, it's quite obvious that if you grew up with these kinds of family members, they're probably really abusing you a lot, and they're kind of verbally giving you a lot of verbal abuse throughout your life. It just makes sense that you would kind of naturally become quite an angry person. So that, that reflection really, I think, can help to kind of broaden our perspective and let go of that sense of this person should be another way. And also just looking to that person's future, particularly if somebody's a practitioner, we might feel like they have so many negative qualities that, maybe they're not really ever going to be able to change themselves. But if we kind of zoom out and we think about their practice over the course of many lifetimes and even hundreds of lifetimes, we can imagine that if this person continues to be interested in practice for another 500 lifetimes or 1,000 lifetimes, no matter how strong their problems are, if they continue this practice, there must come a time when they are able to wear away the negative qualities that they have, and the positive qualities are able to shine forth even more. And I really find it very inspiring to bring up that contemplation of people I have difficulties with. I try to imagine them very far off into the future, many, many lifetimes, and imagine what would it be like if they were an arahant, basically, if they didn't have any of their negative qualities. And this can be a reality. I think everyone has that potential. In the end, however many lifetimes it takes, we do all have the potential to become incredibly inspiring practitioners. So these are just a few reflections this morning.